morning again. I love that poem by Hafiz. The subject tonight is love. As a matter of fact, I know of no better topic for us to discuss for the rest of eternity. And when we understand that the core of the universe, the core nature of everything is love, then there is nothing else to explore, is there? So our topic today is, yeah, good. Even though I know it's 9 o'clock and your coffee hasn't kicked in, you guys are sharp today. Good for you. We believe in the eternal loving kindness of the universe. That is part of the global vision and the global heart vision from Ernest Holmes and from the organization. So as we explore this idea, continuing to create a world that works for all, that world has to be based on love. It has to be based on, and respect is a form of love, right? Respect is a form of love. Love takes on so many different forms, but we have to base it on love. Our overall theme for this month is the idea of looking at beauty, art, nature, aesthetics, and love. That kind of heart space that sometimes we spend a lot of time not being in, not necessarily we here, but we as a collective, country, planet, we spend so much time in the left brain, I think it's supposed to be this way, anyways, that we sometimes forget that heart space. So we're going to look at that heart space today. From A Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes says, ultimately we shall see that the universe rests on the shoulders of love, that God is love, and that all errors of man are the result of ignorance of his own true nature, and our true nature is love. The happy outlook on life is always constructive. The understanding heart is always filled with sympathy and helpfulness toward all. So allowing our heart to be filled with that love, to be filled with that nature. Love is the core truth of the universe. It's the building block, as I think Marilyn quoted, on which everything is built. Everything comes from it. You and I are basically love informed. Our cells, our very cells, our atoms, our subatomic particles, and all the space in between is love informed. Breathe that in for a moment. Hey, I'm just a big blob of love. Or a small blob of love, depending on your size, But I'm a blob of love. The one infinite presence is love. It is love. I love the Emily Cady, a New Thought writer, said, God is not a being that is loving. God is love itself. God is love. And so despite all the hiding, despite all the masks, despite all the forgetting that we all do collectively and individually, all is love. And so love can only be experienced on this planet, however, clothed in form, right? We have to have a form and a way to experience love. And so whether that form is loving another person, whether that form is one of my favorite forms, not my most favorite because I have another more favorite form, but is, say, chocolate. Whoever our new person is, by the way, there's chocolate in that bag there. So, if talk gets boring, just have some chocolate and you'll feel better. Love can only be experienced by us clothed in form. We don't want a theoretical idea of love. We all signed up to join this planet to experience love in human form, right? And so whether that's a hug from a friend, whether that's seeing something that we love, the beauty of nature, which we'll explore next week, however it is, it's something that opens our hearts to experience that feeling of love. And so to take the time to allow ourselves to open up and to experience that. So all the love in the universe is God. All of it. If I'm in love with another person, if I'm in love with chocolate, if I'm in love with the beauty of my nature, if I'm in love with my dog, all I'm still experiencing is God, right? Because all there is God. And it's just God loving itself with this physical form. That's what we're playing with this week. So we are both expressors of love, we give it out, and we are experiencers of love. We get to experience it. We get to receive it. Yes? So we get to play in that cycle. We get to play in that circle of circulating love. I want to talk about something that's kind of the opposite of love for a moment, because we think there's some real. So hate may have its moments. It may look real. It may seem really substantial, but it's not. It may jump up and down and yell and scream. Have you ever noticed that hate sometimes jumps up and makes a whole lot of noise? Anybody? Yeah. All you got to do is have an election year, and you got a lot of... Or post something on Facebook that somebody doesn't like, and what's that phrase? Haters gotta hate, so. But hate is based in fear. And fear ultimately is an illusion. Fear is our belief in a lack of oneness or in a lack of the one. It's that we forget momentarily, or for a long time, that there is only one life, and we're immersed in it. I am immersed in that one life no matter what, no matter where I am, no matter what's happening. I used to, a number of years ago, have some breathing problems. I wake up at night kind of in a little panic attack. And I get up and I start walking around going, there's only one life, there's only one life, there's only one life. And it would calm me right back down, and I would be right back into that awareness of what it was. And it's good, by the way, in times of challenge to have a little mantra, a little reminder phrase like that, whatever it is for you. God is love, there is only one, whatever it is. Have something that works for you that kind of says, I can turn to that, and it reminds me of the truth of who I am. To have a little phrase, a little mantra. So fear is based on a lack of belief in that oneness. And yet at our core, we all know that we are one. All of us know it at our core. If you've ever seen a little child, a little baby, it's not sitting there being afraid of life, is it? It's not sitting there going, I don't like that person. You ever seen a little baby? Now, sometimes somebody comes in with a vibe of energy that kind of puts them off, and they may react to that, okay? But they're not out there looking to, that's the person putting it out, and they're just having a reaction to it. They're not sitting there going, yeah, I don't like you. They don't do that. We don't do that. None of us ever did that. We had to learn to dislike other people, right? We had to learn to categorize people and say this person is a friend, this person is an enemy, this person is safe, this person is not. We had to learn that. So we may lose our balance at times. We may lose our balance at times. In fact, let me rephrase that. We all lose our balance at times, right? I certainly have. But we will always, if we trust it, return to that center of love. It's like a gyroscope. It wants to pull us back towards that center all the time. No matter how far off we get, it wants to pull us back to center. It wants to pull us back to center. It's in our very nature. It's in our spiritual DNA, our core DNA, if you want to call it that brings us back to that. We desire to love and be loved. It's our core desire. Behind everything else, behind that wonderful new home, that new car, that new relationship, that new job, all the money that you want, is really the desire to love and be loved. So one way to demonstrate that love that we like to do is doing things for others. Giving to others, right? It feels good to give, right? When you give, just give something to another person because you love them or like them. Yes? Okay, good. I kind of thought so. It does for me. Giving through action is a wonderful way to do that. We enact the nature of the one loving itself. When I'm starting to do something for you, I'm enacting the nature of the one loving itself, giving that love to itself. Since God is clothed as us, I love the Hindus that talk about when we die, it's just simply like taking off a suit of clothes, resting for a little bit, and then putting on a new suit of clothes to take another body and come in and play. So God is clothed as us. We are God in form with this cellular stuff, right? And the way that we give to God is to give to others. And the way that we receive from God is to receive from others. We do prayer sometimes, and we sometimes expect this magical result if in certain ways of doing prayer. How many of you ever had God come down out of the sky and hand you $1 million, even though you've been praying for it for a long time? How many? Right. It doesn't happen. Usually it comes through somebody else, right? In fact, not usually. It always comes through somebody else. And we may sit there and go, yeah, that was spirit in action because I could feel it. We could both feel it. Okay, so the idea, which is what spirit works in, that's the currency of spirit, is thought and idea, comes through, but we have to act on it. How many times have you had a thought or idea that comes through that says, I really could give to this person, I could really reach out, I could do something. We don't do it, and then afterwards we go, dang, it would have worked out a whole lot better had I just done that. Right? Jesus put it this way, he said, whatever you do to these, the least of my brethren, you do also unto me. Because we're all spirit in form. We're all that one spirit in form. Yes, that person that you love to hate the most, your mother-in-law, for instance. I love my mother-in-law. Some political figure, some boss, some ex, somebody who's done you wrong and really has done you wrong. We're still all God in form. Take that breath. Doesn't mean you have to like, by the way, what they do or even like them. So the love that we're talking about is really a heart opening that just simply says, I accept you exactly as you are, which is how God is. God accepts us exactly how we are. When we give to another, we're really giving to ourselves because there's only one of us. And we are really only giving to God. We're really only giving to God because that's all there is. I'm just God giving to God. You're just God giving to God. When we play this game, when we do this dance. About 2 years ago, and I can time this because I know why, I compared the idea of giving and receiving to the idea of being at a high school dance floor. And you get the boys lined up on one side and the girls lined up on the other side, and nothing happens until somebody walks across the floor and activates the process. Somebody has to give or somebody has to receive. And so am I willing to start giving to somebody else? Am I willing to receive a kindness that somebody does to me? Am I willing to really take it in, not say, oh, no, you shouldn't have done that, but really just say thank you. In the Bhagavad Gita, it says, living creatures are nourished by food, and food is nourished by rain. Rain itself is the water of life, which comes from selfless worship and service. Every selfless act is born from the eternal, infinite Godhead. That Godhead is present in every act of service. All of life turns on this law. So as we play this game of giving, of service, of receiving service from others, back and forth, that dance of giving and receiving, we are playing with the law of life. We are opening up. The Hindus have a wonderful term for that, which is called seva. Seva is the idea of giving of selfless service to God. Are you ready for this? There is a website called Yogapedia. Seva may be performed by a person in any number of ways, but the term is often associated with the work done in ashrams. The residents of the ashram will perform selfless service in order to further the work of their guru and the community for the benefit of others. This can be considered a devotional practice because by serving others, you are serving God. And then here's one of the kickers. Performing seva may be a challenging task as it may raise personal difficulties for the person doing it. Anybody ever have personal difficulties raised when you're thinking about giving to somebody else? Okay. They may discover their own aversions to certain aspects of the work. I'm not going to clean the latrines. I'm above that. Seva, however, through mindful awareness of these challenges, seva can be a powerful tool for people to learn more about themselves, their personalities, and the patterns of behavior or thought that are no longer serving them. In this way, performing seva can be a form of personal and spiritual development. Is Diana here somewhere? I know Diana's here somewhere, Wolfstead. There. Roy was supposed to be here to talk about seva. Do you have a moment to talk about seva? I don't see Roy here. Diana's been around doing seva in this community since before I was born, I think. though she's not that old. So if you want to.
Well, Seva for me truly is a spiritual practice. The giving back to my community keeps me centered, keeps me grounded, keeps me connected with the people in my community, and it also offers a service to our center, completing tasks that need to be done. Why do I do it? It's just a part of me over the years. Touching the grounds here at this sacred facility gives me great joy. The people that I work with have become my best friends. It's a way of giving back to the community that doesn't require financial necessarily participation, because it just comes from your heart. You see what needs to be done and you say, oh, I could do that. You find a friend that could help you. You do it together. It's a wonderful gift to give each other, yourself, and to give your community. So if you're interested in participating in Seva, you should talk to Reverend David. We have lots of opportunities, so I'm extending that invitation. And thank you.
Thank you, Diana. You know, yesterday we were in a meeting, and Deb Black, who's in that corner over there, who's also been a longtime person involved in Deep Seva for this community, mentioned that she had just recently heard from Dr. Oz, I think it was, right? That being connected in a community gives you a 50% reduction of the chance of getting Alzheimer's, or your risk of getting Alzheimer's. And so one of the things I love about Seva in this, and doing Seva in a community, is that we do connect. I didn't hear it called Seva for a long time, but I knew the value of volunteering for a long time. And I used to volunteer and get connected into whatever organization I was working with. And it's a wonderful way to meet people. It's a wonderful way to do something, to give into something that I believe in. It's a wonderful way of connecting with people, connecting with my heart, and growing, you know, and learning to do new things. There were times that I didn't know how to do something, and I was able to take it and learn in a volunteer organization, in a volunteer situation, in a Seva situation, how to do that thing, and then could take that and manifest it into my life. I literally created my life as an events coordinator, professional events coordinator for athletic events, which I was in Seattle, by starting off as a volunteer. I wasn't trained in that, but I got the experience I needed to. So oftentimes being able to do Seva is even a laboratory to try something new, to find out, hey, I'm better at this than I thought that I was. Or I've learned something, I've gained a confidence that I never have. So there's all sorts of wonderful ways to play with the idea of Seva. I invite you to do that. So this week, for our spiritual practice, I'm going to invite us to do two things. First is to become aware of where you find yourself blocked in giving and receiving love. All of us have some sort of block in it. I know that because we're still walking around with a pulse, okay? So it's not that you're doing anything wrong or I'm doing anything wrong, but we're all still learning, we're all still opening up to how much more can I both give and receive love. And so just become aware of that, and even love that resistance to giving and receiving love. It's not a case of take a hammer to it and beat it into submission, because that's not very loving either. The first thing we can do is to start with, I notice that I have a resistance when somebody pays me a compliment. I always say, oh no, not me. This old thing? No. Whatever. Can I just say thank you? And is that a resistance point for me? If it is, can I just love that resistance? Can I just notice that resistance and just honor it, and then be willing to step past it? So that's the first one, is to become aware of where I find myself blocked in giving and receiving love. Secondly, find ways to practice Seva. Find ways to practice that conscious, selfless service to God without an attachment to the outcome, without having to have anybody say thank you or acknowledge you for it. I'm just here to give selfless service. We had a wonderful example of somebody in our community just this past week. Someone had donated something into this community, and there was a note that was going to go out to say thank you to this person. The person found out about it and said, no, I don't want any thanks. I did this as Seva. I don't want any acknowledgement for it. And so some of the best Seva is the Seva that nobody ever notices you doing. Nobody ever sees you do it. We're just here giving, and only you and that infinite presence that's within you know about it. Okay? So this week, find ways to practice that seva. Treat the world as your ashram. Treat the world as your ashram. You can also treat this place as your ashram too. Treat the world as your ashram. There's a Buddhist practice of walking around assuming that everyone else is an enlightened Buddha, here to help us to gain enlightenment. Some of those people are easy to get the enlightenment from. Some are challenging, right? Okay. What if everyone in our life was a Buddha who is here to help us to gain enlightenment? And what if everywhere we are is an ashram for us to practice that selfless service to God? So I invite us to play with that this week and to see what that does in your life. I want to close with a quote. Actually, it's a very short poem from Hafiz. It's actually just a phrase. I am a hole in the flute through which God's breath moves. Listen to the music. I invite you this week to be that hole, to allow the music to move through you in spirit. Let's move into prayer. Recognizing that there is only one source, one infinite presence, one life, and that the nature of that life is love. Is a love deeper, broader, more powerful than we can even comprehend from our human perspective. That deep, infinite love, all that there is, everywhere present, always present. As in the story of the prodigal son, the father always loved the son throughout all of his process. And we are one of that love. We are one of that infinite presence. For if that presence is infinite, we have to be within it. There's nowhere outside of an infinite presence. So we are immersed in that love here and now. We are immersed in that one life here and now. And we are safe in that one life here and now, no matter what the outer appearance is. Beyond that, more powerfully than that, is that infinite presence. And so we allow ourselves to be aware of that presence and to be aware of our existence within that presence. That we are manifestations of love in form. And we say yes to being that. We say yes to playing in love. We say yes to playing as love. We say yes to receiving the love playing with us right back. In this beautiful dance of love, we are willing to step across that dance floor and say to Spirit, yes, I am willing to dance. Yes, I am willing to play. And I'm grateful for each of us who says yes to this process, for each of us who engages to whatever degree in this process this year, this week, this lifetime. I'm grateful because as we engage in this process, it enhances all of us, ourselves and everyone around us. It lifts the consciousness to where it is rightfully supposed to be on this world. This world is but heaven as earth. And we just awaken to it. And the process of awakening to it is to seeing and being the love that Spirit is. And so I release this word into law, knowing that it's moved into form, moved into expression through that process of unfolding that we call law, that process of creativity, that it knows how to do it through us. And all we have to do is be willing conduits who say yes to this love moving through us. And we say that yes, and we affirm that by saying together, and so it is.